Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Photo Mama podcast, conversations on all things motherhood, photography, and life. My name is Elsie Kifuengare. I'm a photographer and a mom of two.
And I'm Ikoja Mercy Haruna, but you can call me Mercy. I'm also a photographer and a mom of two.
Right, before we jump into today's episode, we'd really like to thank all of you who followed us before we launched, listened to our trailer and the first episode, leaving your reviews and feedback. We see you and we are forever grateful. So thank you so much.
Yes, thank you all so much. And just in case we both sound a bit stuffy, we've been hit by the seasonal flu, and it's just reality. The show must go on, right, Elsie?
Yep, the show must go on.
Yeah. So, in today's episode, we're going to talk about an interesting question that many working moms face when they create their professional bios on their websites. The question is, do you mention that you're a mom in your website bio and social media?
This is a really interesting question, and I think it's one that a lot of moms do struggle with. Being a mom myself, I find it's very important to define that part of our lives. It's a huge responsibility. It takes up a lot of our energy and time. So does it make sense to include it in our professional bios? What do you think, Mercy?
For me, it's always been a no-brainer to add mom to my bio, and that's because I do family photography, and I find that it helps me connect with other families. You know, when they know you're a mom, then they know that you understand, okay, if a child is throwing a tantrum on a shoot, you know, it just helps me relate more to the families that I photograph. But then, Elsie, you're a portrait and sports photographer. Do you struggle with putting mom in your bio?
I do struggle a lot because sometimes I feel like it makes me feel very unprofessional because people will think I'm not committed to doing the job, or like I won't be available to do the work if they ask me to. To be honest, this has always been the case as I cannot commit to last minute requests, as planning for childcare can be a struggle mentally and financially as my children are quite young. So I can't just leave them and up and go.
Yeah.
Any assignment.
Yeah, I mean, we could talk about childcare and it's the struggles of childcare all day, but I think we should leave that for another episode. One of the things I do when I find a photographer who I admire and whose work inspires me is to go look and try to see their family situation. You know, do they have kids? How young are they? What's their support system like? Basically, and this makes me sound like a stalker, I think, but I want to know how they're able to, you know, make amazing work and still manage a whole household. I want to know if I can do the same. You feel me?
I totally feel you on this because I'm always curious as well, because I'm always finding myself planning well in advance for certain events and photo sessions. So without this forward planning, I find myself in a place where I'm always anxious or I just can't be bothered, to be honest.
Yeah.
And this feeling is not really good for my mental health and for being productive on the day, so to speak. So yeah.
Yeah, I remember when we talked about in the last episode during my master's, when my son was at home and he wouldn't take his milk. I couldn't be at peace wherever I was. My mind was back home with him, and I couldn't be my best at work. So I guess this is sort of the same thing, just trying to decide if it's worth it leaving home, leaving the kids, and knowing that wherever you are, you're probably still going to be looking back and trying to figure out if they're okay, if they're well taken care of. It's such a struggle. But I think that times are changing actually, because I think earlier on when I started my own career, I didn't feel like there was a lot of people sort of saying boldly and openly, I'm a mom, you know, and that's part of my identity. And I think that there's just more acceptance for mothers in the workforce now. There's also a growing trend of businesses that are run by moms for moms, which is fantastic. And these businesses often highlight their founders' experiences as mothers in their marketing and branding. For example, Procreate Project, I don't know if you've heard of it, with the Mother House Studios.
No, I haven't.
Okay, yeah. Procreate Project, they have a project called Mother House Studios, which is an integrated space for professional mother artists who also need childcare. But also speaking of highlighting motherhood, I also thought about I Mama Project by Kani Ariely, which is a beautiful collection of motherhood narratives from all over the world. And yeah, I just feel like being a mom is not something to be ashamed of anymore. We're getting there. It's getting better, isn't it? I mean, are you feeling the change? Are you seeing the change as it happens, as it unfolds?
Yeah, I do see the change, but it also depends on how you frame certain things. Like the examples you have shared, their work revolves around motherhood. However, you will not specifically see them mention the words, I am a mom of one or two. You will kind of try and figure out that, yeah, they are moms who are trying to make it work through the job that they're doing or projects that they're working on. Um, but it also brings me to the question and the point that do men mention that they're dads in their bio?
Of course they don't. Of course they don't. And you know, I mean, I don't know many men who do, and the only ones that I know of are like Missan Harriman, who shares about his family life on his socials, and Alain Leboile, whose photography is centered on his family. So, I mean, I feel that dads don't have to mention it in the way that mums do, because they're not always the primary caregivers. I mean, take example from during the pandemic, mothers carried the burden of working, managing the household, and homeschooling. I mean, according to the Office of National Statistics, during the first weeks of lockdown, that's between 28th of March to 26th of April 2020, in households where children were aged under 18, women were carrying out an average of 2/3 of the childcare duties more than men. I think that's insane. I don't know how you feel about that.
It is kind of insane when you
Yeah.
hear it like
Yeah.
that. And you wonder, where do we get the time to produce the work or
Honestly,
work on
honestly,
assignments and commissions?
I don't
As
know.
in,
I don't
but
know.
with someone making work, I don't,
We do.
sometimes I find myself juggling like, and then we're constantly exhausted.
Oh
But
God.
it's never easy, but it happens. We make it happen. Um, and this brings it back to the question of this episode. When do we decide to put that we are moms on our bio? Does it boil down to personal choice at the end of the day? Because some moms might feel comfortable doing it like yourself, because you work with the realm of your projects surround motherhood, right? But others might just want to keep it separate from their professional identities because, again, like we said, once they say they're moms, people perceive them to not being available or be sound professional enough to do the job at hand, which is
Yeah.
really, really not.
Yeah, but Elsie, I mean, regardless of whether you're a mom or not, should you just be available at a drop of a hat for every time you're called in, you just be there? I think there should be respect for personal lives and, personal commitments as well. And employers or clients should not be demanding of you ridiculous turnaround times, or everything should be within reason, basically, and there should be more so when you're a mom, maybe more so when you're a mom, but everyone deserves respect of their time for sure. Regarding whether that some moms are feel comfortable or not sharing their motherhood journey with the world or separating it from their professional identity, I think that's valid. I mean, not everyone is comfortable with putting their personal life online, and I really respect that, especially on social media. I mean, I've definitely found myself questioning whether I want to continue to share my personal life online. It's a completely personal decision, and when all is said and done, I think that whether you include that you're a mom in your bio or not, there should be no shame in discussing motherhood simultaneously with your photography career. And also we should be okay to ask for the support we need to grow and develop in our fields.
Yeah, that's so true. And the key word that comes up in all of this is boundaries, knowing to
Boundaries.
set them. And yeah, and also people respecting them. That's
Absolutely.
another thing that we need to remember, because at the end of the day, it's important to do what feels right for you and your brand. There's no right or wrong answer to this question. We also tried to post this. No, we didn't try. We did post this question on social media. So if you're listening to this podcast, please go back and answer that question and let us know.
We just wanted to share some events and book releases that may interest you. UK Black female photographers have an exhibition on at Fujifilm House of Photography in Covent Garden until the 6th of May 2023. You should check it out. It's amazing. Women Photograph have released a new book called What We See, sharing 100 stunning images and stories from members of the community. More information is available on their website www.womenphotograph.com/whatwesee. iMama Project is a global collection of motherhood narratives curated by Kani Ariely. They are releasing a book in the summer called iMama: Poetic Truths of Home and Motherhood. Visit their website www.imamaproject.com for more details and to pre-order your copy.
Yeah, and on that point as well, something that I just thought of, like, we also want to hear from like photo editors who commission people for assignments. Is it important? Is it not important? If you see like a photographer who you've been following or maybe you've been recommended to work on an assignment, when you see that they've written they're a mom, or if they haven't written they're a mom but they mention it in conversation when you're trying to speak to them, what are the dynamics there? How does it work? We want these answers, because it's a really kind of like delicate and confusing topic. That's why we were asking this question, because
I think especially for up and coming photographers, because you're trying to craft your presence, you're trying to craft this thing that you present to people, editors and followers or whatever, and you're trying to decide what it is that will get you hired, and what and then you're looking to other people, other photographers, to see what they're doing. And a lot of the times when I was building my website, I'll go look at one or two photographers who I admire, and I'm like, oh, they've not put that. Okay, so that's not something that I need to put. This is not just about mom, but like in general, I'm looking at what they've put in their bio. Are they putting Are they putting work from a certain time? Have they kind of like ditched certain projects from certain years and started to put only stuff they've made in like later years? Just looking at all those things and sort of like nitpicking and trying to, trying to build your profile. And so I feel like up and coming photographers will have this struggle. Like, what do I put? But also, speaking of editors, maybe editors who are also moms can be a bit more empathetic to our situation. So hire the moms. Hire the moms so that they can see us, because they understand the struggle. Because I don't know if non-parents, I really don't know. Again, I'm assuming, and it would be good to get comments on this, if non-parents understand where we're coming from when we make certain demands or, ask for certain allowances.
Yeah, that's super true. And I think that's all we have time for today, folks. We have to go. So if you're interested in joining the conversations, we have a Google form you can fill out in our show notes. If where you're listening to this podcast does not support show notes, you can find the form on our website, www.photomamapodcast.com.
And if you have questions, you can email us at photomamapodcast@gmail.com. And also, you can follow us on Instagram, Twitter, and YouTube at photomamapod. See you on the next episode.
See you on the next episode. Bye.
Bye.